talk about episode 5 here of the Netflix series Receiver featuring Davante Adams. I'm Mitchell Renz, host of the Raiders Report. And coming up here on today's show, I'm going to go through this chronological order of episode 5 and just realistically illustrating everything that happened on the show around the Las Vegas receiver. My next breakdown of the series is going to be on Thursday when we go live. We're going to be breaking down episode 6. I always say this every show because at some point, I always see it down in the comments. This is going to be a spoiler alert. We are going to talk about the episode. So if you haven't seen it yet, it's all good. I also appreciate all the questions or all the comments that I've gotten on social media of people saying, you know what, Mitch, I've been following the show along with you. And really, if you want to do that, believe it or not, I would really appreciate it. And it doesn't really get started until 12:15, which is when the Devonte Adams part really gets it rolling. So I know sometimes people, when they turn it on, they tune in, they're like looking around to see, all right, when is the episode going to get going with Devonte? It starts around 2015. So if you want to get all the way up through it and then you want to just get into the Devonte Adams part, that's the 2015 part. Adams then, I like this a lot because he's talking to an NBA ref, and I liked it because I can remember when the video went viral. Remember, like, the ref and Devonte, they're passing the ball back and forth, and the ref was like, oh, I got seats, we're in this section over here, and Devonte said it's going to be different now, and he's just talking about that it's going to be different now that Josh McDaniels is no longer there, Antonio Pierce there, and they're just a lot more fired up to go out there and play some football. Devonte also went ahead and said, like, when you feel good, you go out there and that you play good. And he's just kind of talking to the camera. And it's more of just not so much like, they always say, like, when you look good, you're going to play good. For Devonte, and I think he speaks on behalf of all of his teammates, of when you're frustrated just because of all the other bullshit that you're dealing with, maybe inside the locker room, your head coaches, you feel like you're wasting your time. Then when you finally deal with something like that and then it's refreshing, the Raiders are starting to feel good as players because they feel like that they're not wasting their time with the cancer of Josh McDaniels. So now, like, they're going out there and they're playing a lot better. Now, if you feel good about this upcoming season, because Devonte felt good about it last season, he feels good about Antonio Pierce, and if you feel good that AP this season, I'm ready to shock the world, and I want to do it together. Every single year, this show grows more and more and more. We got 170,000 subscribers. I can't wait for us to hit 200,000. To me, and I'm not even afraid to say this, I think the Raiders Report, we were a big reason why they fired Josh McDaniels when they did. One Raider fan is loud. 3 Raider fans is really loud. You get 170,000 Raider fans, which is what we're doing here. We're going to bring that energy. We could accomplish a lot of amazing things together. So if you want a voice and you want the loudest voice in Raiders talk, and it's plain and simple, we bring it here. Subscribe. We can create a voice together. We're going to keep it rolling here. The episode jumps then to Week 10, Sunday Night Football versus the New York Jets. And what I thought was interesting here was Devonte kind of talked about him having a 4-hour dinner with Aaron Rodgers. And I do think a lot of the reasons that, like, the Davante Adams series is good on Netflix. Now there's been, like, a lot of trade rumors around him with Aaron Rodgers because I think people are seeing how bad it was last season with Jimmy Garoppolo, with Josh McDaniels. And today, right before we decided to go live here, Adams' agent came out, and according to Adam Schefter, had a really interesting statement, which, thank the Lord we can finally, like, silence some of these trade rumors. It said, statement from Davante Adams' agent, Kenny Chapman, and Frank Bauer regarding the recent trade talks around their client. This is baseless, unfounded speculation, and Davante is expected to be with the Raiders as there has been absolutely no trade talk, period. So can we stop talking about him going to the New York Jets, please, for the love of God? So then, one of the cool parts that I saw that I actually didn't remember, maybe I knew about it, maybe I didn't, I don't know. But AP shook the hand of every single Raiders player before the New York Jets game, and it kind of gave me some of that, like, Rich Bisaccia vibes. Remember when Bisaccia wrote those handwritten letters to all the players at the end of the year? Josh McDaniels would never do something like that. And I think when you get an interim guy, you have to do some of those little things to say, hey, I'm here now. You look at that man in the eyes and you shake the hand of Antonio Pierce, no doubt he's going to get his guys to play for him. So then it goes to the very first play, which of the Jets game, not of, like, the game, like, itself, but when they were showing it on Netflix. And it's Aiden O'Connell hitting Davante Adams for 42 yards. And it was one of those just, like, plays where I can remember when it happened in real life, because it was like, all right, is Devonte finally going to get rolling? Because for a long time, not to his fault, it was just we couldn't get our offense going at all, man. It was really, really struggling. Next play then shows like a beautiful one-handed catch by Devonte, and I mean, it just goes to show why he's one of the best in the biz. Then we get to the fourth quarter, and the other thing that this Netflix series did remind me of is like how bad the Raiders offense was last season, even when Antonio Pierce took over, right? Like, yeah, the 63-point game against the Chargers was definitely an outlier, and it helped skew some of the stats. But when you really look at even like, the Jets game struggled quite a bit. The Dolphins game, bad. The Chiefs game, bad. The game leading up to the Vikings, bad. Like a lot of bad offensive performances, and the score was tied 9-9 heading into the fourth quarter. And then AOC throws one up to Michael Mayer, and Chugs and I both said this out loud. We were like, I forgot how amazing of a catch it was when Mayer just absolutely mossed the defender, brought it in. Raiders go up 16-9. They end up winning the game. But like the game and the play that I remember the most from that game, and I'm kind of mad that they didn't show Davante Adams' reaction, was, do you guys remember Robert Spillane's one-handed interception on Zach Wilson? A one-handed pick with a broken hand. Like, we didn't know if he was even going to play that game. I would have loved to see Davante's reaction, so I kind of think that they missed that one a little bit. After the game, after the Raiders win, Davante, he's in the locker room, and he's like ghost riding the whip. He's like bouncing around. He's letting his dreads rock. And like AP even said it in the episode. He's like, hey, he's like, bro, like, whip that hair around a little bit. Like he wanted his guys to have fun because they all come from that same cloth of, hey, we could be serious. But you know what? When it's come time to like get that shit done, AP's a big believer of, hey, we got to get that stuff done. And if we do, hey, let's celebrate here a little bit. Coming up next is going to be my favorite part of episode 5. And I promise y'all, for everybody that subscribes to the show, everybody that's a part of our live shows, what's about to be talked about, Jeremy and I will get on the show. I don't know how, Chugs, but coming up, I'm going to tell you what my favorite part of episode 5 was and why I'm going to be determined to get it up here on the Raiders Report. And for you that don't know, we're going to be doing a Thursday special challenge show, okay? I'm going to pay anybody $100 that can beat Jeremy Chugs in college football 2025 on PS5. If you don't got PS5, maybe you get one real quick. If you're like, Mitch, I do got a PS5, then I need you to add Jeremy. This is his name. I can't make it up. Jew Eagle 96. And I'm serious. We're going to do 5-minute quarters, and we're going to be live almost all day on Thursday. I got a bachelor party coming up, and I also have a 3-day weekend this weekend. Everybody does here at Chat Sports, so we're not going to be here for Friday happy hour. So you know what? I'm going to take Friday happy hour Thursday. We're going to put it together. The plan for Thursday is this. We will go live at noon Eastern time. The show ends at 6 p.m. Eastern time. So you're talking about a solid 6 hours of Raiders Report content on Thursday. And it's going to be Raiders Report viewers against Jeremy. So when we go live for our Madden Sims, for watch parties, I'm going to commentate, okay? I'm going to be the commentator, and it's going to be a real live game. There's going to be battles going on. There's going to be some shenanigans going down. We're still going to get Raiders segments in. We're going to do mailbags. We're going to do some conversation. We're going to do a Madden Sim against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Bottom line, it's going to be 6 hours of just hanging out on Thursday, and if anybody thinks that they can humble Jeremy Sanders is what I'm calling him. We got Shador over here. I'll give you $100 to take him down. All right, we're going to keep it rolling here on episode 5. My favorite part about episode 5 was Davante during the bye week trying out like all this like new Taco Bell food. And if you don't know, Davante has done a lot of stuff for Taco Bell. People have even asked him like, yo, do you actually have one in your house? Which he jokes about and says like, obviously I don't have a Taco Bell in my house. But the 2 food items that he tries that I'm very intrigued by, and I will get them here up on the show. The first one is like a coffee churro chiller is what they end up calling it, and you can get it in, from what it looks like, a bunch of different flavors. He was trying that, and then the other thing that he tried was this Mountain Dew Baja Blast pie. It's kind of an interesting looking pie, and I can remember Davante saying like, it's unbelievable how close it actually tastes to Mountain Dew and the Baja Blast. So if you had to pick one to try, okay, are you going to go with the Coffee Churro Chiller or the Baja Blast Pie? Let me know down below. You can type CCC or BBP.
I'm going with the Baja Blast Pie.
Really?
You gotta go with the Baja Blast Pie because I feel like the Coffee Churro Chiller, like there's already places that kind of do similar stuff with like churro, coffee, frappuccino type stuff. Give me the Baja Blast Pie.
I agree in the idea of trying it, but the thing that I think I would enjoy more is the Coffee Churro Chiller.
I could see that.
There's only one way to settle it. When Taco Bell comes out with these, we will get them up here on the show. We will give you guys an honest review of them, and we'll tell you when we're going to do it. That way you can enjoy the food with us, because after all, that's what this show here is all about. So then Tay says that the Taco Bell experience might have been one of the best experiences of the season. When he said that, I was like, oh, that's really cool. And then I was like, It's not great. Hey, I'm a foodie. I love me some food, but I don't really often say like, oh, Baja Blast Pie is the best part of my year. The show then jumps to Justin Jefferson getting ready to return for Week 14 up against the Las Vegas Raiders. I thought it was kind of lame that they just passed over, both like the Dolphins and the Chiefs game, but they were both losses, so maybe that would have made me a little bit happier anyway. Tay then just goes ahead and he's like watching a lot of film and he's on his iPad and he says that he's watching film every single day. And he's like, the only way that you're going to get better is if you keep like watching your own film over and over and over again. One of the funny things that I saw, and it kind of reminded me of like my fiance Alex when her and I watched something football related, and how often like I'll watch something and like I like to rewind it a lot, especially like if I watch film like on an NFL draft prospect or something like that. But I thought it was funny when Adams' wife, she kind of gets upset with him because of how many times he rewinds like the tape, and it's not like a long rewind. You know what I mean? Like it's like quick over and over and over and over rewind, so that way Devonte can just see everything while she's just trying to watch the clip, right? Like, but it just goes to show how anal Devonte can be and that's why he's as great as what he is, because if you're not at that level, like you can't separate yourself. Then I love Tay saying that, if your plan is messed up and you don't have a plan B, you're in trouble. So he like talks about like when he walks up to that line, he's got his initial plan. I think one of the reasons why Devonte is so hard to cover is because, he gets in that phone booth there and he goes and he's like off the line so quick and he's going left, right, straight. You don't know how to cover him. And if you cover him the correct way, he already knows what his plan B is, and then he can go and find an open spot. Maybe that's why he didn't get along with McDaniels, right? Devonte said that he watches a lot of Justin Jefferson, and, I thought it was cool because Jefferson in the videos, like I watch a lot of Davante Adams, and like real recognize real. Like, you know what I mean? Like to me, these are the two best receivers in the National Football League. No disrespect to Jamar Chase, might be the only other guy that I would even throw into this conversation here. Tyreek Hill also. But like to me, I do think that most NFL GMs would consider Davante Adams and Justin Jefferson the two best wide receivers in the National Football League. So my question to the nation, and if any Vikings fans come across this video, hell, I'll ask you too, because the quarterback situation is pretty similar, where Justin Jefferson is dealing with either J.J. McCarthy or Sam Darnold. Davante Adams is dealing with either Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew, right? Like, you can make an argument these are maybe the two worst quarterback rooms in the NFL. Also, you could throw in the Broncos in there. But who's going to have more receiving yards in 2024? If you think it's Davante Adams, I want you to type DA. If you think it's going to end up being Justin Jefferson, I want you to type JJ. The only reason why I'm going to say Justin Jefferson is because, one, I think that the Vikings defense is a little bit weaker than the Raiders, where the Raiders aren't going to have to pass, I think, as much as what Minnesota does. On top of that, Justin Jefferson may be a lot bigger of a target in that offense compared to Devontae. The Raiders have a lot more skill position players than Minnesota does, and depending on how that whole Jordan Addison situation goes, Jefferson might be the only player that can even get targets at this point. Let's keep it rolling here on episode 5 of our review here of Netflix. It's time for week 14, Raiders, Vikings, and the Raiders at this point in the season are 5-7, which we know what happens just a few days later. That's, I'm guessing, what's going to be in episode 6. But Jefferson is hyped to be back after missing significant time. What was really cool about this episode was you got to see both sides of the field, where Vikings, Raiders, both of them are preparing. Both are getting ready to get this thing going. And then JJ makes an unbelievable catch on Amik Robertson. So Amik played really solid defense. Also, Amik, hopefully you're doing well, man. And Jefferson comes back to the football, kind of slides down, puts it right on him. Beautiful pass. Then the next play, which ends up happening, is Jefferson's running across the middle. And I can remember this one very clearly because he's got to really go up for the football. Marcus Epps comes sprinting in, hits him right in the side, and Jefferson ends up leaving the game. And I can remember when we were live on our watch party being like, what the hell happened to him? What ends up happening is he's on the sidelines and he's like spitting up blood, and it ends up basically being like his lungs were swollen. And I'm not a doctor. You can see the exact what the clarification was, but that's a scary thing, that you're spitting up blood. You never want to see something like that. Also, it was 0-0 entering the fourth quarter. Like, do y'all remember how unbelievably frustrating this game was? Like, this game and then the game where Derek Carr and the Raiders couldn't get across midfield when they played the Saints might have been two of the most frustrating offensive performances that I have ever seen. And then Adams, to our former OC, Bo Hardegree, was like, we're just trying to figure it out. Like, Adams kept on saying that the offense was playing a lot better, that they were doing a lot better just because of, the offense was doing good, but it was the most frustrating game that he's ever been a part of because what Minnesota did, and you got to give them a lot of credit, they tried to take him away. They were double-teaming him. They were hitting him at the line, and as soon as Davante would get away from somebody, they had somebody right there. It was like, you're not going to beat us with Davante Adams. Sure, he had a few catches, but it did not go very far. But again, like Davante said that their offense was playing a lot better than what the numbers showed, and that just kind of was part of the football game, and it was just one of those weird games. So Davante coming out and saying that the offense was better than what it showed was, just one of those things. And then it goes to this play, which this was a really, really difficult play just because it brought back a lot of bad memories. I was somebody that really wanted the Raiders to draft Ivan Pace Jr., linebacker out of Cincinnati, and I can remember being live on the show, and we were just like every round, you got to draft this guy, you got to draft this guy, you got to draft this guy. Obviously, he ends up falling out and ends up signing as a UDFA with Minnesota. But when he picked off Aiden O'Connell, he jumped in front of the route of Davante. And I found this stat to be pretty interesting. It was the 6th time all season that Davante, when targeted, led to an interception. That was actually one of the highest rates in the NFL last season. But it was also the last time that it happened the entire year. So you look at the final remainder of those games, week 15 on, that never happened again, which maybe that's Aiden getting a little bit more comfortable in this offense. And then the way that the episode 5 ends is Austin Hooper, he goes up to Davante, and he's just like, hey, man, keep your head up and just keep leading us. Because a lot of the players could tell that Davante was frustrated with the entire season, and that was the first time, or there was a 3-game losing streak. They're 5-8 on the season, and it's just kind of like, what the hell are we going with from here? So I want you to get out those red pens, and I want you to grade episode 5 of Receiver. Give it an A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know down below. My answer for this one is I'm going to give this one a C grade. And it was a good episode, but it wasn't even close to like episode 4, episode 3 for me. And it was good, Davante, but then also like the Jets game was a fun game to watch, especially when they got the dub and the Michael Mayer catch was electric. That Vikings game, though, was super frustrated. My favorite part of the episode was legitimately him trying out the food, and because of that, I decided to give this one a C grade. If you want to watch my other reviews on all of the episodes, we did 1 and 2 together because Davante wasn't in episode 1. If you want to see my episode 3 and episode 4 review of the Netflix show Receiver, featuring Devonte Adams, all of those links are going to be available to y'all down in the comments, down in the description of today's show.